there.
All right, what's your last name?
Blaine, long time ago. I didn't stay there long. I ended up going to school in Texas and moved to Rush County for a little bit.
Are we good?
Never
Okay.
came back.
Ready?
Yeah, two left.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. I'd like to call the meeting of the Spiceland Township Advisory Board
Okay,
session.
we have minutes of February 1st. Has everyone had a chance to review those minutes?
Yes,
Is there a motion to adopt the minutes as presented?
I move that we accept the minutes.
Second,
Second.
all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. You can finish that later. And then we have minutes of July 21st as well. Is there a motion to adopt those minutes?
I move that we adopt those minutes. I second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And I also have our budget information on the front. It shows our, kind of hoping Scott would be here because the bad news is I was cut $30,000 from what I was proposing. And it was all in fire and it was, the rest of it was in Port Lake. And if you look at the front page where it says capital assets, there's a zero anticipated because next year House Bill 1 comes into effect. So we won't receive any tax dollars. So that was a huge ouch. Well, the purpose of this meeting was to talk about fire department issues. Erwin, can you bring us up to speed on what's going on in Dunreith?
The only thing I can tell you right now is, like I've been trying to tell people from the start, there's so much information that I am not able to discuss publicly at this time. However, I can tell you that effective June of this year, the town council voted to not renew a contract with the now Dunreith Volunteer Fire Department Incorporated or any affiliation thereof.
But that only affects the town of Dunreith.
It's because I think it's going to affect your southern township because right now the issue with the equipment is not settled. And that equipment was purchased under town EIN and under grant money addressed to the town.
Well, see, Spiceland Township is in the same situation. Their fire department owns absolutely nothing. It belongs to the township. They have one apparatus that now belongs to the town. So Spiceland Fire Department doesn't own anything either.
I'm sorry.
Spiceland Fire Department doesn't own anything either.
Well, I understand that, but in our, March of 20
Contract with. Therefore, based off that, he has a fire department, but he doesn't have any assets or any equipment to run the fire department. We have assets and equipment to run a fire department. He's taken all of our personnel. So
I'm not sure it's
functionally-
any different that would be the way Spiceland Fire is set up.
exactly.
It's the same.
It's all, and there's decades and decades of how it was ran and how everybody allowed it to run and how it functioned and how we maintained the fire department. The ownership of that position has changed of the fire chief, and effective whenever that incorporation is that he incorporated DFD Inc. is now a different entity. So that's the kind of stuff we can't necessarily talk about it because
Right.
It's what we say versus what he says, which ultimately can be whatever a judge says. So anything that we talk about, one, isn't technically fact-based because it's opinion-based, because I'm saying the truck's mine. He's saying the truck is. Nobody's saying the truck's anybody's yet. Only thing that has been voted on, discussed, talked about, and ratified is that he has an incorporation that he's wanting us to enter into an agreement for 2027 services, and we did not do that. We're looking elsewhere.
As in elsewhere.
As in, we're negotiating with Spiceland for the corporation's fire protection. And we're just waiting on the finalization of the verbiage of that.
But Dunreith doesn't have jurisdiction over the rest of the town.
That's the language and the verbiage used in the logic. There is anything 1 inch past our incorporation is at cost of our community for fire services. So the township reimburses us for those costs, is my understanding of that nature. So with us still maintaining that we have a fire department, with us maintaining that we are going to find people to do those services because we have been taken, our personnel have been removed, so we don't have the spirit of a fire department. We might have the body of it, but it doesn't have a soul. Right? So we're gonna go, unfortunately, we have to contract that out, but that's at cost to the community as well. So for the logic there, I think, and I'm kind of speaking for Herb, I apologize, but I've got a pretty good handle. The contract is to reimburse us for the cost of our community maintaining, supporting the fire department, and then, for lack of better terms, it going out on loan into the township area. So we still have costs associated with that. We still have vehicles to maintain. I may still have to carry insurance on that depending on how the negotiation with Spiceland goes. There's a lot of stuff that's up in the air. The general nature of it though is that we still have costs associated with the fire department. If we have a functioning fire department that we're paying for and they respond to the community, we think the township contract could go to us. If you choose to enter into that with whatever organization Jason is possibly presenting as the fire department, know that we don't recognize that. We recognize that as a private incorporation, and that as far as all the assets and everything tied to ongoing, we don't know. We may come to an agreement with Jason because he'll probably have a lot of very good points, to which we'll also have a lot of very good points, because this thing's been married for 75 years, like this. And unfortunately, in February, that happened.
And what actually happened in February that caused this? I mean,
There is
I guess I'm
the
missing.
most recent purchase that the fire department made was under the guise that it was going to be ushered in the custodianship from beginning to end is based on the fire department. They're gonna pay for it, do all of the things, however they do, because there's not been appropriate oversight in that field in a long time.
Can I step in there real quick?
I'm old clerk,
Okay.
okay? My mother was clerk, my grandmother was clerk. I inherited the position out of default. Nobody wanted it. I knew nothing. I lived in Texas for 16 years. I came, my mom died, my dad got Parkinson's and was blind. They was like, somebody's gotta take it, you take it. I went, I had no history. Donna knows about this.
Oh,
She
yeah.
saw when I came before. I knew nothing about government. I knew nothing about anything. So all I did was go by past practice. And somebody in my family has always been either a clerk or a board member. Half the people on the board, in the 16 years I was clerk, all 3 of my board members were firemen. I wasn't involved with the fire department because they were my fire department. One of them was the president and one was the secretary out of the 3 that I had, and the other one was a volunteer fireman. I wasn't involved in the fire department because they handled everything. It was just common knowledge. Dunreith owned the fire department. We paid them to contract them in and be able to buy whatever they, with the money that we contracted them. Don't know when that came about, because when I became a clerk, those contracts come to find out, State Board of Accounts goes, no, that ain't right. You shouldn't be doing that. They're unit owned. Because my board was the fire department, everything internally. Never got asked any questions about the fire department because the fire department was my board. So I never questioned any of that. They didn't talk about it. If I got involved with the fire department, it was because they were coming to me for, hey, we need you to pay this out of money. Because we gave them, if they wanted to, we want you to buy the tires out of our money. So whatever bills that they wanted me to cover, they just give me the invoice, I'd pay it out of their money, and at the end of the year, I gave them the balance that was left from our contract.
Which is the functional difference between a contract and a budget, which a unit-owned organization should have been having a budget, not a contract.
I just went by past practice.
So-
There was never anything in my budget for that, so I never knew that like I said, I never got in trouble. So I didn't know I was doing
Well,
something wrong.
one of the primary issues, going back to February,
Yes.
they bypassed the appropriation process.
How's that?
They bought a fire truck.
They bought a fire truck, bypassing the appropriation process.
We bought a fire truck.
There's nothing.
Our
in it.
council people bought a fire truck when it comes down.
Not
to
this
it.
past February,
No.
this is in 2024, before
2024.
the new before the new
And so,
council.
Under the previous pretext of how they've done it in the past and how they secure local lending and everything and present it to the council basically with a bow on it and request permission to go and do the tax. Is not word for word, not verbatim. You could look at it in a different light. That's the gist of how we got to where we're at. Is that was the practicality, because we had people in different positions, long-standing members of the community, dual hatting as council members and firemen. Not that there's anything wrong, not that there's any way that the state doesn't acknowledge and work through those kind of situations. However, those individuals in those days wanted to do things for the community, and we don't have things in our community. We have a fire department. So it's very common sense that if we have money or if we're gaining money or we have the ability to leverage things, the focus would be to the fire department. None of that's ever been wrong. This council, this clerk treasurer, nobody's claiming any of that's wrong. It's that in February, their most recent purchase, they were told not to do that.
2020.
And then it was still done, so that when the new council who is taking over around that time showed up, and there's a brand new fire truck that the last that we all understood, we weren't necessarily supposed to do, that they were supposed to figure out another way to do that. Because they can't come and ask permission to go and buy something, because they're supposed to be a budgeted item. That is called a misappropriation. They didn't necessarily spend money, but they have obligated a debt to the town that we did not appropriate for in a technical way. We are still trying to get out from under that, because this council and this clerk treasurer doesn't accept the responsibility of that. So that is what happened in February. And from then, our fire chief at that time, at that moment, told that that wasn't okay and that we have to figure out how to do that. They came to one meeting, and then we didn't see them or hear from them until we heard them in September, where we received a letter from their counsel, their attorney, essentially saying that they want everything. They want the Spiceland contract, they want us to pay them money, they want their clothing allowance. From our understanding is how the contract came to be in its existence in the first place, was in lieu of the state required mileage and clothing thing. There's language in there for these contracts that have been lost over time, that what we're is a private incorporation that is running and maintaining what they believe is a fire department, that believes they have some stake into town-owned, tax-backed, public general fund money, equipment, no way down tied to the town. There's money that's been moved around that was tied to EINs to the accounts of the town. There's funds and all kinds of stuff that I personally am maintaining the stance that I'm not saying anything necessarily has happened wrong, but nothing was ever asked for. They have bylaws with us. The most recent bylaws are from 2017. They understand their unit owned. In February, the fire chief incorporated and changed all of that. We were reacting to that in our community's best interest, we think.
It was my understanding that you guys asked him to make those changes, though.
In the sense of, well, that's one way to skin a cat. In the sense of, why don't you sell us all the trucks for $1 a piece to our organization? Why don't you pay for it?
But at the end of the day, I guess my thinking is anything and everything belongs to the taxpayers who were the ones who actually paid for it.
Exactly. I understand that, but it's also supposed to come through the oversight of the town clerk. It is not supposed to go into an ownership base with a unit-owned organization. And up until last incorporation, they identified themselves as being owned by the town. Now, with their new incorporation, it doesn't have any affiliation with the town at all. It just simply states it's to provide fire protection, and its founders are Jason and Brendan. And I'm not picking on them, but from all appearances, it looks like they're asking tax-funded dollars to be handed over, nonprofit or otherwise, at no cost to the community.
Scott, how does your not-for-profit read?
It's a lot, it's a
Seems
lot
like don't
different
put
than
me on
that.
Yeah.
It's a lot different than that. I think we've got the contract. And it's set up with board members, with people on his volunteer fire department, and it's set up with board members.
And we'd have members on.
We would be in a very different situation if in February, the council didn't express their concern about the fire truck, and then 6 months of complete absence and no communication. And then the next thing we get is in September is a demand all letter from an attorney. Now, he's talked to you about it apparently. You said it's your understanding in the letter that it was our request. So he's communicated some of that to you. He hasn't reached out to any of us in a year, over a year. He stopped talking to us in February and March.
Yeah,
You guys have been awful.
sounds
You've
like
got
a
this
break in
community in an uproar,
communication.
like,
Now, wait a minute.
everybody's got this community in an uproar,
It's
over you
not-
guys
listen.
can't get along.
Wait a minute. It has nothing to do with that. It started with this purchase. It started with him stating to the council, he no longer wanted to wait on the town for money. And then he moved forward and said he wanted to separate from being a unit-owned entity. And so if that's what he wants to do, he's welcome to do that.
Well, Spiceland Fire Department's not owned by an
But
entity.
it's the difference in their verbiage that signatures that are on their nonprofit status.
Their accountability, Spiceland's accountability is to the town of Spiceland. Jason's is not accountable to anybody in his incorporation. He's not accountable to anybody.
And so,
The fire department existed last February, was never incorporated as a business, ever.
never,
Ever. It has been unit owned since the 20s. They established a fundraising account sometimes in the 60s and 70s, to which they lost that in the 70s, and they have had no other type of incorporation ever since. So I wasn't, sorry, I realize now in hindsight that kind of come off accusatory. I wasn't saying that you guys have been establishing contact with him as much as he's willing to talk to you guys about anything, and he hasn't really reached out to us. You're right, though, we haven't been communicating openly either. But there's a lot of stuff that we're trying to, like I said, I don't know how to, we can sit here for 2 hours and I will just confuse everybody because I have 1,000 things
Well,
in the
and
history of the town. I've been reviewing minutes for a year and a half. I've been nothing but doing this and assisting the council to try and grab a grasp on it with anything. Running
not
around
to
like a chicken with
interrupt,
my head cut off.
but how much effort was made on your part to attend Spiceland,
Sure,
request information? How many times did you
Correct.
attend their meetings?
door swings both ways, Donna, I agree.
I agree. So we have asked for information and we have not got it. I've been trying to ascertain whether or not that they're current on training shirts. I've been trying to ascertain whether they have their current fire run status. I've been trying to get all this stuff together. It hasn't come.
As
We
of
have
right
asked-
now, the timing for this situation could not be worse because we're being mandated to consolidate townships. We're looking at possibly as early as 1 year from now being South Henry Township, which means Spiceland Township, all of our fire trucks will belong to that new township. We would also like to move forward because of contracts and make it one fire territory. And I see the state pushing us that direction.
Well,
Every fire department in Indiana does things differently.
that's,
And we've
That's fine.
lost that communication, and without that, I don't see how we're gonna fix it.
I don't see how we are either, because when we initiated this discussion with the attorneys, Jason said, if I don't get such and such, I'm gonna have to decide whether I'm gonna walk away. And that's the last we heard from Jason. And so we're not here to argue the point.
No.
We're not here to be accusatory. We're not here to defame his name. We're here to state that as the town council, we have no interest in signing a contract with Southern Township to provide fire protection at the Southern Township with the current situation that we're in.
You guys have anything to add based on your experience?
I've never had this experience.
I'd like to apologize for causing an uproar. I can truly say that we have been, unfortunately, yes, in hindsight, it would have been good to have been proactive, but we've been very
If we can
reactive to
possibly
this.
hang on for
There's-
another 6 months,
A territory wouldn't help you guys at all.
Not at this time, no,
how,
But
why
yeah,
not?
because we,
It will in the
we've been
future.
talking about
Sure.
it. Survey that done in 2015. And The issue was the fire chiefs were ugly and awful and threatened to burn down houses. We understand that.
And I don't
I heard
recall that taking place.
Well, but that's what somebody told me.
I don't recall that happening.
Okay.
I
Well,
went
then
to
if that's
several of
the-
those
if that's
fire
the case,
territory
then-
things and
Where we find ourselves is that we're in a precarious situation where we don't see be able to rectify this in 6 months.
but we don't know that yet. There could
We
be-
don't know that
there
yet.
could be
All
a
the actions the
judge.
council has taken is to not enter into a contract with the incorporation that is requesting a contract with us, which is not the entity that we identify as our unit-owned fire department.
And that right now is
That-
the whole thing, right?
Exactly, because
So,
what about the fire truck? We don't know.
What's the term unit owned?
Means that it's a department of the town. It is not a volunteer fire department as much as it is a volunteer department of fire for the town. Just like I am the treasurer's department, I'm the department head that is the clerk treasurer
The chief
Jason
would be
G.
a department head,
of
not
our department of fire.
yes.
But he's not an employee.
Which is why the trucks are town titled. They're owned by the town. They're plated. They have municipal plates. We cover the insurance policy. It is our department that we have costs for, which is the logic I was using to base that the town would maintain that we still deserve the township contract to go towards our fire. Because we haven't been getting that. That's been going to the fire department for decades.
you mean the money that's coming from the township?
Township.
Correct.
Right.
Which is ultimately what it is in
That's what it's supposed to be.
But when it is a unit-owned fire department and not a incorporated volunteer fire department that the town contracts with, that money is to offset the town's cost it takes to run and maintain that department. We're not saying 100% of that should have been going to the town, clearly not. But none of it has been going to the town.
But the
for
checks
decades.
went to the town.
No, no,
They
without
go to
the
the
fire.
fire department, but they also
But the
provide
contract's to
protection
the
to
town.
Ogden and, Mikestown Lake Edition,
Exactly.
My house.
you know, yeah,
It's all,
Dunreith is just
it's
one
very
part.
involved, which is, it's not that, personally, I haven't necessarily been withholding information, much I don't know how to talk about a lot of it. And I might be the one with the better grasp on it out of a lot of people. It's just so confusing and vague, and to have a 2-hour conversation with somebody, not to bring you into that, but to then ask like, well, what's a unit of? And it's like, oh boy, we gotta rewind a lot because there's a lot of fact, knowledge, and logic that's based off solely that.
So it sounds like filed for your town attorney or whatever. Now there maybe just needs to be some negotiating, some mediation
Correct,
between the two groups,
correct.
the fire department and,
It's ongoing,
and that's ongoing, I'm assuming.
very much so.
Whether or not it will be, and we're not privy to that information as
Sure,
well
sure.
either. I don't even know that I want to be.
We are moving to try and shed some of this, at least some of the confusion, because that's what I talked to the attorney most recently about when I spoke to him about some of this stuff. It's like, hey, I know we're having trouble trying to figure out how to talk about a lot. We at least start talking about how confusing it is, get into some of it. And it is. And it's not that we're being told not to talk about things. He's encouraging us to. It's just, what are you talking about? That's not just hypothetical.
Well, and
That's why
somebody
he said
might
talk about the
misinterpret,
facts. In
somebody
February,
might misinterpret
Absolutely,
what
which
you're
is where
saying,
we're at.
which is, might be a lot of
You know,
Yes.
problems.
which I'm learning
But
doesn't matter because it's the
guess-
public's right to know anyways.
Absolutely.
And we're getting, do you know what also happened in February? We had 2 brand new councilmen. When this all started happening,
No.
my entire council is less than 6 months old. I'm less than a year and a half old in this experience. So all these things, have I been going to the volunteer fire department meetings? No. Do you know why? I didn't know about it. You know why? Because Jason doesn't talk to me.
So I
He
guess
hasn't
my
invited
question,
us.
when did you start talking to Spiceland about getting help from them?
Once we identified that, the moment we identified that we were not going to be able to have fire or EMS services for our town because of actions that were taken not by our council, we started figuring out how.
So
We hypothesized possibly that any town that you can think in the immediate area that has one, made a short list. We started, it only makes sense for Spiceland, to be completely
So
honest.
you contacted Scott, I'm assuming,
I
or
just-
Scott,
Council members have, but yes.
council
understood.
members, or did Scott contact you, the council members?
We reached out.
Yeah.
You reached out to him.
Yes.
Okay, so how far along has those meetings been going?
We haven't met formally with his board yet, but we
Our
have.
attorney reached out to their attorney to see if they would be interested in entertaining a contract, to which our attorney is working to draft something up. And then, I mean, as soon as we have
To his new house.
the concept
But
of
we own
that.
the equipment,
We own
that's
the
the
equipment, so we'll
problem.
have
So
to
you
agree
can't
to it.
contract with them because they don't own it.
For our equipment,
No, you're talking about
they're
the
using our
equipment
own
that they
equipment.
have.
Well, they can have ours. Ours, you're concerned. Yeah,
Oh, I get what you're saying, because you
Is that
also
right?
have a unit-owned fire department.
Can I have that, right?
probably.
I'll tell you, the town
You can
owns.
borrow.
Gotcha.
So the
And for all
town,
of his grass strip. That's why that was wrote up years ago.
years
Or-
ago.
that's
And there
what
again,
you
we're
also
going back to how it was
counsel
years ago.
Yeah.
But
Sorry,
if you guys are all talking about this, shouldn't
Right,
Donna have been,
To-
She's known
notified?
about
So
it, too.
you've known about it too, so just more
So
Abby and I didn't know about it?
recently,
Okay,
Yeah.
because I feel like we should have been, informed of this as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we're
The
on,
biggest
we're on the board,
reason
Yeah.
we're here is
can't
to,
make any decisions until,
Hey, for history, up till certain person took over down there, we covered the entire township, except for the town of Dunreith. We was always responsible for everything that south. The only reason that contract was wrote the way it was is so they could get a grant to buy that tanker that they got. They had to show more area and more people. The only reason that was done,
do you know what year that was, Scott?
that was 2001.
Oh, one.
Mhm.
if I knew all this was gonna happen before, we would have revoked that deal after that grant was done.
But also up to that time, if I recall, the only piece of equipment that Spiceland owned was not allowed outside of town limits. You recall that?
That was way back too.
I know, but the town owned a fire truck. It was not allowed to leave Spiceland town limits.
The
Because it
town
was
owned a
by
fire
the
truck
town.
that was not allowed to leave.
Exactly.
Which is the logic of a unit-owned fire department.
I see.
Anything an inch outside of that incorporation, in theory, is at cost of that community now, because the mileage, the gas, it's an extreme example, but that's the
I would say that would be
baseline.
very extreme.
Exactly.
I would not want
Yeah.
to be the one that said that.
Or
you can go to that
Trying to
fire.
account it
Right.
and stuff, but that's, my understanding is why we are part of the contract for the township, is because our firemen are allowed to respond outside of our incorporation. Therefore, it's at our community's cost, therefore we being reimbursed by the township.
Well, that's same as Spiceland.
Exactly, yeah, okay, so that is the understanding.
Change, so like.
How does this, how we are handling this, how can it lessen the strain on your council, or this committee, if you will? I don't know if I'm too green behind the ears to understand what to call you guys, this board. How could we,
We are
you said,
being
what, 6 more
forced.
months?
Okay, we're being forced
Mhm.
from the state to
Mandated.
eliminate townships.
Right,
We all took tests and we either passed or failed, okay?
We still have to merge.
We-
Who's
we-
the way?
We.
The 3 townships.
All
All
right
townships
now,
in
right,
Indiana.
and so Donna, myself from Franklin, Linda from Dudley are being proactive and trying to get our merger started so that the county of Henry doesn't come in and say, no, you're gonna do this and you're gonna. And if the county doesn't do it, then the state will mandate it by the end of 2027. So logically, through the school systems, South Henry School, we're going to merge. It'll be, I mean, we're in the
Township.
South Henry
beginning,
Township,
yeah, we're
right.
in the very beginning stages. We have had. What does that mean when 3 townships merge to all the fire departments? Well, territory. That is the logical, most efficient, most benefit for all of this southern Henry County. Franklin Township is already a territory. it's working beautifully. My firemen are working on a budget of $200,000 from 30.
That's the whole point. See, we're trying to work on a budget that is far less than that.
Of course you are,
And
sir. Of course you are.
getting pushed to increase what the town has 170 residents can't afford.
No, sir. That's why we became a territory.
I
Franklin
understand that.
Township and the town of Louisville merged together. What you're referring to is several years ago, well, 2015, Donna, myself, and we even asked the trustee and
But I wasn't the trustee.
she was not the trustee, to merge together, and the firemen did not like it. This time, they don't have a choice. It's going to happen.
Yeah, our fire chief didn't like that.
No,
The fire chief that was fire
I'm
chief when
sorry,
I was
excuse me.
there, no way was
Excuse
gonna
me.
be in the territory.
Well,
There's
the
two,
point
excuse me,
being,
just a
though,
minute.
is I understand, and I'm not trying to. The point being, though, is we're in a precarious situation where we have issues that go beyond just simply providing fire protection.
But those issues
some
sir,
of
would be
those-
taken out of your hand.
Some of those issues have existed because we have had payments that have been paid directly to the department. Extra it is for the wear and tear of the bells, the maintenance on the building, all that stuff has been falling directly on the general budget because we haven't been afforded the luxury up until the last payment, afforded the luxury of having that under oversight in order to help compensate for those extra services.
Do you do that in your budget?
Ma'am?
Do you normally figure that in your town budget, town attendance budget, those costs?
We account for the annual cost of running the fire department in our budget.
So you wouldn't
All
have
of
that
that
anymore once the territory.
Exactly, to your point, I was hoping could you finish that? Your point that you were trying to make, because I'm interested in what you were trying to say. As far as, because I understand all of that is history.
Yes,
We can't do anything about old checks. I can't do
No, we
anything.
That's my point exactly. Once we form this territory, it will be run by a territory board, just the way Franklin Township territory is run now. There are 5 members on my board right now that will all be hammered out with an attorney's guidance, just like it was for me. And the fire territory board decides everything. So in my mind, now this is me speaking without an attorney, in my mind, 2 people from Strawn, 2 people from Spiceland, 2 people from Franklin, and a chief would sit on the board. Now, that's just me speaking right now. I'm under no
Sure.
guidance.
I can't read the future.
I cannot. The way my board sits right now, we are all elected officials. I'm the trustee. We have our town clerk. We have 1 member from the town board of Louisville. We have 1 member of my advisory board, and we have my fire chief, all on the fire territory board. So once this is formed, then each would become a battalion, and there would be a united bylaws. They would all fall under the same bylaws. Like in 90 days, I'm going off the top of the way Louisville runs it. Scott, jump in here with anything you want to add. 90 days, they don't get a radio, they can't drive the truck. Then after 90 days, they get drive the truck. I'm not sure.
I mean, everybody's different.
So, and then they have so many months to become firefighter 1. So this is more information than you need, but I'm just saying all these departments would be under the same kind of bylaws. Then the insurance would jump in. It would save so much, and the towns would not have to worry. We would have, can you imagine, we're guessing we could have $500,000 to $1 million budget.
And I support that. I told Donna from the start, I would support a fire territory.
I know you talked to me one time
But
about
the
it.
thing that I'm not gonna support is to take what has dollars and for somebody to try to coerce or pressure us into signing over capital assets that belong to the town, to what appears to be a private organization.
That's a whole nother matter.
That's a whole nother matter, and that's why we're here where we are.
When did you say they became a corporation?
They never asked to. 25. November 2020, end of November, the 22nd, I believe.
We're owned by the town of township.
A corporation, what's a corporation? You know what that means?
Yeah,
A corporation.
we know what it means, but this is different. This is,
It has an
they're an
EIN. They have an
incorporation,
EIN like I have an EIN.
So does my fire department.
but Spiceland's incorporation,
Ours
if you
never
would
has.
see it compared
have.
to the
They should have by
incorporation
law.
that
Use
Dunreith
our EIN
Volunteer Fire
every
They should have their
Department
own
set up
EIN.
is completely different.
That's
Completely.
required by
He
law.
has board members. Dunreith only has Jason and Brenda as, and Ryan Hood, I think.
Yeah,
is
we
the
have
second.
officers on our.
Yes, they do not.
See,
It
and
does
a
not even
corporation
mention Dunreith.
will protect each individual fireman.
Yeah.
Because say
No.
Donna's house caught on fire and Dunreith put it out and made a mistake, if they're not incorporated, each individual fireman could be sued. But you
Exactly.
cannot do that.
They have,
We understand that, but not a
It's-
private entity. That's the
Yes,
difference.
there's, the,
on the ordinance here.
Amazon.
Yes.
Amazon's
I
insurance.
understand, guys. I'm not trying to make your job any harder. I'm just here to sit here and be as proactive as I know how to be and to extend a professional courtesy that I wish we had been extended a long time ago.
The question that I asked was, how could
Yes.
from your guys' situation by what we're
that's where
doing?
we are right now.
And you said
Decide
something
what
about
our
6
next
months.
steps
What does
are.
that 6 months and what during that 6 months are you expressing that is buying time to make your decision? Because
If you want to explain
nothing, as
that,
far as we're considering,
the
as
process.
our unit of the fire department's really changed other than that we can't functionally get anybody going to call if we ask them to. Because I don't have a fire chief, my understanding.
So
Our
are you
bylaws
two,
with the current organization and structure is no longer there. So
What you're saying, after the first of the year, you will either change the locks on the fire department, remove the fire trucks from that building, or
it's our
stay on
building,
the
it's
telephone,
our equipment.
allow the current fire department to utilize.
Whatever organization we are contracting with for fire services come January 1st, 2027, will have access to our equipment to do fire services.
That
That's
is a bigger
unfortunately how I have to answer
situation than what we are
I
here
don't
for.
know. I
That
also
is a
can't
much
really-
bigger situation, and that's something that's not in our control.
Okay.
I mean, just, that's where we are. We have no control over that. That's something you need to work out with that situation.
And that's one of the reasons we're here, to help you be abreast of that so that you can make better decisions with your budgeting, wherever that leads you until we get this.
I've already did my budget,
Better?
my fire budget for next year was already
not saying
cut by
that you
$25,000.
But
And I think Scott missed on that. But yeah,
We're in the hole already. That's what she's saying.
because the,
I guess I guess ultimately what I was asking is really, as far as the town's maintaining, other than our abilities, we still have a fire department. We still have something that is baked into the cake that is Dunreith. We can't wave a magic wand in June and say that we're not gonna enter into a contract with Jason for fire service, and that unravels all of that. I don't even know how to start to unravel that if we wanted to. The reality of the situation, we're maintaining, we have a fire department. We can't use the equipment because we don't have firemen, so we have to find some place to do that.
have you talked to the state fire marshal for advice on this situation?
I've reached out to him concerning some of the issues that I've asked about, and he says he doesn't want to get in between a political thing.
They don't get involved.
And it does sound political.
I have it in writing. He said he didn't want to get in the middle of it, so he didn't answer my question or extend the courtesy of even giving me a certificate request.
So you're saying there's no way that you guys can get along and
I don't think
resolve
he's
this?
saying that because in my words, in my understanding from the clerk, I know I don't vote, but from my office, there's nothing to say that we can't still have that fire department, that it can't be addressed. But there have been discussions which have happened, and we touched on them here, that essentially there's what we feel like are demands. We feel like there are unmovables in this thing that we can't navigate around. And that's coming from my office as well. And if we find a way around those, sure. But I don't know how crazy of a statement that is.
Do you think this is something that might be resolved in litigation, mediation?
That's kind of what's been holding up a lot of this is it's all hypotheticals. We said, they said,
I
we're reacting to
Kind of
what
think
they're
that's
presenting
the
us.
goal by the fall for those things to
Yeah.
take place.
They're hoping by the end of the year
Well,
we can get
certainly.
it resolved.
I'm hoping October.
June happened when we voted on it because there was a stipulation in the contract that we had to give 180 days notification. Based on what we were presented with, what they were asking, we could not enter into a contract with them, so we had to vote on it. They voted on it in June. That was the only thing that's happened, and it's the first thing that we've been able to make happen. Because door swings both ways, but there is very little communication happening.
And that's unfortunate, but
It's really
But
sad.
they're
Like,
yeah.
it's
correct.
sad.
Well,
Like, your
but-
community is up. Like,
Yeah.
You're
it's
right.
sad.
Yeah, but we had a meeting.
Danger.
Yeah.
We didn't hear anything for 6 months, and the next bit of correspondence we had is what we're characterizing as a demands letter, is how I felt about it when I read it. So for not hearing from somebody for 6 months to hearing from their attorney for 6 months, they've kind of set the grounds for not a lot of communication. So we've been communicating via our attorney.
But have you guys been the friendliest back? Like, have you guys tried to, it's both going both ways.
Correct.
Like,
I completely agree.
it's both, it's
I would
just
love to
so
sit down and talk about
your
stuff.
community is torn.
My deck's open.
I have-
You wanna come over?
The community
that's
is
what we're all
torn.
worried about.
I have been in
And
touch
work
with
this out
Chief
before my
Green
house burns.
on and off since this whole thing started, especially over people that are on his roster, over issues with some of the wells and pumps. I have done my best to keep him abreast of everything that's taken place or transpired, and I have text messages to prove it. I am not in any way trying to accuse anybody of any malfeasance. I am just simply stating that we find ourselves in a precarious situation that affects more than just Dunreith. And we're not getting, to be honest with you, we're not getting a fair side of this.
Absolutely.
Because we're being raked over the coals and accused of things that absolutely has not happened. And along with social media and other input, it hasn't happened.
Well, I think
And
that's
so-
what we're saying is that it is so bad that these two small communities, we're all here to serve. That's what we're all here for, right?
And we're talking volunteers.
Yeah, and we're talking about
Volunteers,
I'm saying
trained volunteers,
And I'm-
all of them.
all of them are, I understand that, and I don't have a problem with the volunteers.
I really feel like that
Where
if
we are-
everybody
where
could
we
just
are
sit
really-
down, two
Sorry,
or
go
three at a time, and everybody just sit down and try to work it out. We're all adults here, we're not, and I know it's hard to get along with everybody.
It's impossible.
It's almost impossible to do. Everybody has their own opinions, but I really feel like that we gotta try something, because I've lived here my whole entire life, and I've never seen this community this torn up of everything. I mean, it is awful, and some people, I mean, they say things to, I'm not saying to us, but just in general, and it makes you feel like you need to do something to help your community, because I don't sit on this board for my measly $300 a year that I get every year and meet and do all this and do other community things. And I think these guys will tell you that all of us here have been a big part of our community. I mean, we all, the people that are sitting here today, have did everything that we could do to try to keep our community all together. And that's what we all want. We want, and it'll eventually come to what Debbie's saying. I mean, I was there in 2015 as well, when they tried to do the fire territory, and everybody, that meeting at the Houston Brick, that got ugly, and it was, and I thought, well, I'll never hear another thing about fire. But here it is back again, and it's gonna come to that. We all know that that's what it's gonna come to. Township Advisory Board and a trustee and all that, that's all gonna be out the window as well, just because the state wants to come in, but we don't want them to tell us what we're gonna do. We're trying our very best to get something going and in place before the state can come in and say, Spiceland, you didn't do anything. Dudley, you didn't do anything. We're gonna try our best to make this all work. Now, if it could be that you want us to get an attorney, which I know you guys have one, and I'm sure Jason and Brenda have one, we've got one as well for ourselves.
It may not be a bad idea to arrange that meeting, to have some mediation.
And just get some mediation going. I mean, hey, we're already here in August, and before you know it, it's December 31st.
And if we can get
And you talk about social media now being ugly,
yes,
the closer it gets to December, you see what's gonna happen, Now, I'm not blaming anybody here. I'm not blaming Scott. I'm not blaming you people. I'm not blaming Brenda and Jason, because I'm not privy to all the information to whatever happened, But we have got to sit down and make this all work, because that's what we do. And these are our taxpayer dollars. I get my bill every year, which you people do too. And
we gotta consider those taxpayers and how they feel.
And they come back and ask us, well, what'd you do with that money? Well, we thought we were doing the right thing by giving some to Spiceland, giving some to Dunreith. We thought we were doing the right thing. We didn't know any different.
Well, I think what's gonna be taking place with the state and what we've had word of, there's no reason why Henry County should have.
And
And
that's gonna be, I think that's gonna be a thing. Just cause their situation, you're gonna see a lot of these little departments start disappearing.
Oh, you don't want that. You want all the fire help that you can get, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
correct.
Like you want,
But the situation they're in, are gonna make them do, they're gonna have to start eliminating departments. They can't afford to pay all those.
Our fire department doesn't have bylaws and people. You find me bylaws and people, I have a fire department. It's not gone. It's still there. We very much want it. All of the legacy that's there since I was a kid growing up, it's the only thing in town. I played in that building. I rode on the trucks. It's sentimental to me. But
we can't.
how do we navigate around it?
It's funding.
Yeah.
And as soon as we can do territory is July 1st of
Well,
next year.
Scott, we said at that meeting, that lit meeting, and you heard that gentleman stand up and say
That was Mount
when
Summit.
the lit money was given out to all the departments, he stood up and said Henry County needs to become a whole territory. I think he misspoke. I think he wants a district. I don't think he wants a territory. I think he wants a district, and that operates completely different.
As of now, we keep it county.
And
that's what we want
that's
to keep
another
it.
protection, ladies and gentlemen, over a territory. You cannot be Henry County can't come get us.
They can't absorb it.
That's
Right.
right, yes,
Exactly.
yes.
Okay.
If,
And we don't want that to happen.
No, we don't.
We do not.
We keep things as local as possible.
Let's say already-
Doing away with departments.
Wayne County is,
So, it's coming. They're gonna get, these little departments are going.
Russ County, they have what, 7?
Every county department, or every county around us has got between 6 to 8 departments that covers the entire county. And we've got 17. So something's gonna have to get cut.
Something's gonna have to cut.
This situation's just bad, but it's community's gonna get affected sooner or later. They can't afford all of this.
well, that's that's why if this territory was to come to pass,
It would help
it would,
financially.
I mean, each station can remain, they would be battalions instead of Louisville, Franklin Townships, Strawn, Dudley, it'd be South Henry Fire Territory with all the stations being a battalion. Each station would have its own chief.
And it would take the financial burden off all
Yeah,
the community.
and the firemen then,
They have their own tax
they don't
base.
have to worry.
Why do the fire chiefs dislike, from my understanding, fire chiefs dislike the territory? That is a gross mischaracterization probably, but,
I think it's,
it was my understanding it was generally disliked by units
Can you
like
explain that,
ours.
Debbie? You were there.
Money, I'm
It's
assuming?
different,
No,
it's something different.
I think
Honestly,
it's
my
kind of like
term,
it's my
control,
sandbox, and I don't want anybody.
change.
that was my exact words. I made the front page of the paper by saying the boys couldn't play together in the sandbox.
Well,
And-
and there's another thing, you know,
And
no
that's,
matter how we
I
look
think
at
that's
this,
really true.
there has to be a way for people to have understanding about proper protocol.
Well, that's one
And
thing that
we've got-
nobody ever gets that. You
Well,
know,
but
they're
that's,
all,
Because everybody's bylaws
Because
are different,
that's
everybody
right.
does it different.
I understand that, but under Indiana fire law, there's a process when you show up on scene. And that process, if I understand it, should be adhered to. As to who becomes incident commander and who doesn't, and stop all the riff.
well, again, fire territory would take care of all
Yeah.
that.
So,
Yeah, yep.
So I guess at this time,
Okay, may I, one, but I didn't want you to end without it. Let's say it was January 2025 and we weren't in this situation, but we were talking about this exact same thing. What would be our, what is in that situation that isn't there right now that is that is problematic?
one, communication.
What you were talking about as far as,
Even with us.
doing the work to set up the township and things like that, what would we be doing to assist in that part, in our process, for our piece of the pie, if we were involved in it?
Probably a little bit more understanding of the budget and how much you actually do spend
Okay,
and work with us.
okay, I can start doing that because it will benefit me a lot, especially, because you know about the budget tomorrow. Guess what I got tomorrow?
I've already done mine.
Tomorrow at 11.
I understand working together. I served 16 years in the Marine Corps, I understand that. I also understand there's professional courtesies that ought to be extended to both sides of the seat. There have been issues in Dunreith where those professional courtesies have not been extended, and it's exasperated the problem.
So then I think
And
it's
then,
time
so
for
that-
mediation and
Right.
air it all out and
Yes.
get everything all in writing, and this is how we move forward.
I can tell you
This is
there is
how we fix it.
ongoing mediation happening, and they mediated to us, and we have counter-mediated, and they've mediated to us, and we've counter-mediated, and we're currently waiting to see what the next word
Yeah.
is. So I can keep you guys up to speed if I can. I'll keep her.
In those conversations, we'll be
And that
willing
would
to
be-
help.
That would be nice, because we just found out that the tax council met last week. Before anybody reached
You
out.
were
Which is
there.
different
Oh,
than one
yeah,
of-
I was there.
Which is different than one of
Anybody reached
17.
out to us and give us an opportunity to do anything or say anything in our defense.
We got the same public notice that everybody got,
And so,
but
I
we
know, we
didn't know,
didn't know.
and they probably
You
did.
didn't know you were gonna be the number one item on the
Yeah.
I
agenda.
don't think anybody there did though.
I was there and got run into it.
those are the things that we're looking at here, because I understand we're small. And I understand we have an organization that's been in existence since 1924, up at the end of the year.
well, if that's not too late.
Yeah, if it's not too late.
We gotta think that before you know it, December 31st will be here.
But what would be late?
December 31st.
No, but what is the item that is late?
getting this resolved one way or the other.
We are responsible
Well,
for providing
resolution
fire
would-
protection
what
to the
resolution would
township.
suffice?
I want to get everybody working together where whoever we have in Dunreith
Okay.
in a position, chief or otherwise, and I'm not saying it could be Jason, it could be anybody, I don't care. But we need to get it worked out where those people feel like that we are covering their territory. Because right now they think, I mean, no matter how many times you put it out there, that
We
they're
haven't
still
done
covered.
anybody any favors
Right.
with the amount of clarity that we've had with this, but as
And
you can see,
that
it's
just
different.
goes back to the communication. And
Exactly.
it's from both groups.
And we even,
Now, that's my.
I know you've seen some of the videos, but we have
Yeah,
tried to communicate with those in present, only to be slammed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and nobody will allow us to give them an explanation. So we're gonna have to do something different at our next meeting in order to keep it under control where we can reasonably discuss with the community. And
I
so
don't know
there's.
what the answer is there. I don't know
Well,
what.
but you're saying, you're telling us we need, you're
Stay on
telling us
social
we need
media.
to be more open and communicative, but we
Yeah.
also need for them to be understanding that we didn't create the problem, we inherited the problem, and we're trying to bring a resolve to it to the best of our ability for the whole community, not just for certain.
But they
Certain
are, how they're seeing it though, is they're thinking you guys created this problem.
Well,
That's
I
how they're
understand
seeing
it, but
it.
you know, that's
And I've not
because
watched one of those YouTube
That's
videos
because,
till last
though,
month.
we're
and I was
not-
like, oh my God.
we're not responding to all this stuff on Facebook.
Yeah.
We're not
think
on
that's-
Yeah, I
Facebook,
would
it's the
not.
I
wrong
would not
media, it's the wrong
respond on one
media to
thing.
talk about this stuff.
I
And
would
so we're
respond.
not there,
We're
and
not.
so they're taking our silence as, I don't know, maybe in their eyes, guilt. But sometimes silence is the best virtue until you find a resolve.
I just think that,
We will have fire services come January 1st. As soon as that is locked in through agreement, budget, bylaws, however it's established, I will let Donna know and I will establish that to you guys as soon as I can.
Don't we vote on that or no?
Yeah. Yeah, because it's.
In whatever fashion it is, that's why I said bylaws as well. However we get there, wherever there is, I will let you know what it
I mean,
is.
really.
so is your attorney working on bylaws then for that?
Right now, they're working with,
We're working with a contract to find fire services to a third party, which is what the option presented to us currently is a third-party contract with somebody for fire services.
for the.
We didn't want that one.
incorporation.
We're looking for a different one. We're shopping around right
So is that set in stone?
now. Is what?
You're shopping around.
Well, yeah, they voted on it.
We haven't voted on it, but we do have a contract that's being
Well,
dialogued.
they voted on not entering into a contract with who currently serves our fire services and provides said service. So it's implied that we're shopping around. Fair?
You'd
Maybe.
be well off to communicate that to your community.
We're going to.
Yeah,
Well, Irvin kind of did when somebody demanded it of him and he said, yes. But yes, we didn't convey that to him. I'm particularly bad at this. And it's hard to understand everything to say in whatever moment in any given time. But yes, I agree. There is a lacking of clarity. That is something that I've been getting extensive legal advice on, and it will be addressed at the next council meeting.
And I think that's it right there, is we need to resolve the situation at hand as quickly as possible.
I will do that
So
for
that
you.
it's no longer an issue. We
Well,
need
I
to,
also,
The council.
I also
the
stress
council
this.
will do that for you.
Can I ask,
The clerk, he will help us, but the council will do our best to get a resolve for you as expeditiously as possible. Even if that means that we are not gonna contract or recontract with the current organization that's seeking that approval.
or if we do.
That's just where I'm at.
can I have some clarity? Okay, you said, that, okay, sorry, it's old habit. They're wanting to possibly contract with Spiceland for, it's a time like this comes around 2027. We're hoping, got it all figured out. But, so let's say you want to contract with Spiceland, but you're saying Spiceland doesn't have fire department, they need to come through the
That's-
trustee, the township,
And
sorry.
it may be a different township if you wait
Yeah,
a year.
27.
Exactly.
Be South Henry
So
Township.
that's what I was getting at. So they're really dealing with the wrong people if they're trying to contract with Spiceland when Spiceland really
Exactly.
doesn't have a fire department. I was just trying to get that in my head, sorry. It wasn't making
Well,
Down-
sense.
Spiceland has a
down
fire
still
department the
owns the
same way
Yeah.
Dunreith
Yeah.
has a fire department. I
Those
don't
are
understand any difference.
And that's
It's
what
the same.
So it's the township.
If
that we
the
need to
township
pay.
We're just gonna talk
refuses to
about it.
let us use that equipment down there, I mean,
That's where.
We have fire
So
trucks.
how do we do that?
any structure fire within anywhere in this county, 3 departments are automatically dispatched. I don't care where you live. Med runs, we'll deal with it.
Absolutely.
We've
We'll
got
deal with it. What if it's a stroke?
the trucks, or the town's got.
I don't feel safe about that. You deal with it.
Hey,
So,
they went, if you remember, they went through the same crap when the Southwest went out of business. All this went in a uproar. And ever since that, nothing's been said. Newcastle covers all that down there. We go down there all the time.
God, it takes them forever.
Yeah, it takes
Yeah,
20 minutes to get down there.
My mother-in-law had a stroke and it took her 27 minutes to get there to get her. And she died 3
It
weeks
was
later.
45 minutes when my
Yes.
sister broke her ankle.
So it takes them forever.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it's awful.
But I mean, that's nationwide. I
Well,
mean, we're lucky to have service we got around this county.
that's exactly why we need to appreciate the 16 or 18 departments that Henry County has
Absolutely.
and take care of them. Because every department, every situation is short manpower. If not, that's the case, they're short on equipment, it's something, everybody is short at the end of the day. That's why we need to work together and take care of what we got. Take care of our communities, because that's what it's all about.
Yes.
So if there's no other discussion, you know how I feel. I think this needs to be resolved as quickly as possible. However, we get there remains unseen, but we can't let this drag on. There's no other discussion. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I make that motion.
Second. All in favor, say aye. And I do appreciate everyone coming and expressing your information because it's been a lot. But we have a long way to go, but we gotta get there for our communities.
Well, we're gonna do our best, but at the end of the day, no matter what we do, somebody's gonna be disappointed.
No kidding.
So we just might as well get ready to understand that somebody's gonna be disappointed. And it's not gonna be, somebody thinks it ought to be,
Even if
but at the same time, you're not in my seat and I'm not in yours. And I would appreciate the leniency and a professional respect to allow us to do our job without adverse or negative input.
Thank
All
you
due
for coming.
respect,